Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meakin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back cause baby you're the...
Hello America, hello world. It's November 21st, 2025, and this show is coming to you live from the great state of Arizona and Washington, D.C. This is a special rapid deployment broadcast, and Captain James McCormick will be taking the lead today. This is another Continue Mission radio show on the Veteran Channel. For almost a decade, Continue Mission has been produced by veterans for veterans. I am Val Olson, and I am here once again at my kitchen table with Captain James McCormick and the only Greg Meakin. So let's light the fuse, buckle up everyone, and welcome back to Continue Mission. Greg Meakin, what's on your heart today?
Val Olson, Miss Val, our military radio gal. What's on my heart today is patriotism and veterans and the sacrifice that previous generations have made so we can sit and do this show today. I can't be more thrilled than to be hosting this today, and I'm going to make it brief, because I'm going to be turning the mic over to our dear friend, Val, our dear friend, Captain James McCormick. Just for the record, Captain James and I have been doing radio, as well as you, Val, of course, for almost 4 years. We're talking 100+ broadcasts together. So this is just an extension of that continued mission. And the gentlemen that you guys are going to meet today just sing. They sing of patriotism. They sing of freedom. They sing of warriors. This is a generation we need to look up to and to remember, so that we don't keep making the mistakes we are and making mistakes in the future. As a side note, if I told you as a little kid in Montreal, following Montreal Alouettes in football and following very closely the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 1970s, I would have never dreamed that I'd be sitting on a live show, with not only my friend Captain James McCormick, but with a gentleman you're going to meet named Rocky Blyer. I'm still going to pinch myself for a while on that. I might ask Mr. Blyer for an autograph later on today. But Captain James McCormick, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Welcome back. And this is indeed Continue Mission Radio on the Veteran Channel. Captain James McCormick, introduce yourself and introduce those distinguished gentlemen around the table. Over to you, sir, and salutes to all of you.
Outstanding, and God bless America, and welcome to another episode of Continue Mission. I am your host, James McCormick, also known as Captain James McCormick, but you can just call me James. You can call me Hey, you can call me whatever, as long as you pay me and you feed me, I'm good to go. Listen, we are here in the beautiful city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Iron City, baby. They make stuff, and listen, America has always been made great in this place because they make stuff. They're the blue-collar capital city of the world right here. There ain't no greater place to be than Pittsburgh. So not only do you have the Steelers, but you have the Penguins as well. And you have the Pirates as well, if you're following baseball. Although I'm a big fan of the Steelers, and I have followed this guy ever since I was a kid, watching him making these incredible plays from, from preventing probably the most amazing quarterback sacks in the history of the NFL, but to continuing and learning more about the history of not only Rocky Bleier, but while we are here in the heart of America in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with the Vietnam Veterans of America. Let me tell you what's so special about Vietnam Veterans of America, and then I'm going to introduce all of these fine gentlemen. You talk about a generation that came back to an unwelcome spirit that was resonating across America. It's the Vietnam veterans. But you will find no generation, no greater generation that has greater patriotism than the Vietnam Veterans of America. They respect the flag. They respect the country. They are honorable people that came in and built in spite of all of the pushback. If you want to watch the amazing about Rocky Bleier, you can watch Fighting Back. And it's a great story. And when you watch that, you see that the refusal to give up. They refused to give up on America. So we're here visiting with the National Flag Foundation. I'm going to start with the chairman, the volunteer chairman, by the way, which is Ramel Nicholas Sr. And him and I have, we met on a whim phone call, been many years ago. And he says, do something with the Military Order of the Purple Heart. And it has been rock star status ever since then. It was one miracle after another. God has had his hands in everything that we've done, and because it's righteous. And we have Ramel Nicholas here, and he's going to speak in just a few moments. And then we have none other than Rocky Bleier, who's right here. I'm touching him right here. He's real. Look at this guy right here. Amazing. And then over here to my right, we have DOMINICK YEZZO. Now, he is a Vietnam veteran and a New York judge as well as a distinguished attorney. And I have had him on our show before when we talked about incarcerated veterans. Awesome. And then next to him is the national president of Vietnam Veterans of America, United States Navy veteran, and just all around, can I say this? A damn good guy. Okay? A good guy. Look, I know you're probably going to want to edit that, but he's a damn good guy. He loves America. He is a Gold Star brother. No one gave more than his brother to this country. Gave everything he had for this country. And he loves America. And the reason why we came here today was to have this great and what I call a historical time learning about the National Flag Foundation. And what I would like to do is open it up with Ramel to tell us a little bit about the National Flag Foundation and what really makes that organization hum.
Well, thank you, James, and appreciate the introduction and humbled to be in the company of and around me. For everyone's benefit, the National Flag Foundation is a national, nonprofit, non-political foundation headquartered in Pennsylvania. It has a national board, and its mission is quite simple: to honor the American flag and those who serve to protect it. For the National Flag Foundation, historically, they have been deemed the last word on the American flag in the country. As James had mentioned, we had an affiliation with James and my initial introduction to him through the Military Order of the Purple Heart and the 240th anniversary of the Purple Heart Award a few years ago. With the help of Rocky Bleier and James, we were able to put together legislation on a federal level, bipartisan, to help Purple Heart recipients with their identities and logging through the federal government. We were fortunate enough to have President Biden sign that legislation shortly before he left office. And most recently, to honor the 250th anniversary this year of the Marine Corps, the Army, the Navy, and the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War, we were able to have that legislation teed up and approved. The National Flag Foundation is also now focused on 2026, the country's semi-quincentennial. We have two initiatives that can be sought out on our website, nationalflagfoundation.org. where we have a traveling flag that we have donated to the United States, a simple American flag, a 5x8 flag, that in partnership, the American Battle Monuments Commission and the National Sheriff's Association is going around the world and around the country to touch all Americans dead and alive. It's completed its journey through Europe, North Africa, Central America, and the Pacific, touching all 26 military cemeteries in 10 countries. It's now back in the continental United States. It will touch every state and every territory, and ultimately find its way to Washington, D.C. to fly over the Capitol on July the 4th of 2026. So the National Flag Foundation has been fortunate to have partners like Vietnam Veterans of America, along with many other veteran service organizations. And Rocky, by the way, is on the National Flag Foundation board. And we are welcoming these kinds of opportunities to fulfill our mission, and appreciate being here today.
Thank you. To my right, which would be to your left, if you're looking at the screen, is going to be Tom Burke. He's a heck of a great guy. He is the president of Vietnam Veterans of America. By far, the Vietnam Veterans of America did more legislatively for veterans than anybody else. And additionally, they were always the ones that were on the ground in the future wars when we came home from Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, Afghanistan. You could always see Vietnam veterans. I literally seen them in Germany when we landed in Germany. They were in Ireland. They were in every landing spot that U.S. troops were coming back or deploying. And Tom Burke is the lead of this organization. And I want to introduce him. He's also a Gold Star brother. His brother was killed in action in Korea, and he has. It's a humbling story to hear that. When you talk about patriotism, that's what we think about, and we think about people that have sacrificed more for others. And so, Tom, you got the mic.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. I've been asked, what is the patriotism of Vietnam veterans? And if you look at their record, the Vietnam veterans came home to a nation who did not want them. They left their homes, they went overseas, they did their duty, and when they came home, it wasn't what they expected. We have true patriots in Vietnam Veterans of America. Why? Because they did their duty, they went, they came back, and they tried to reassemble into a normal life. But the normal life really didn't happen for a lot of them because they came back with secret wounds of war, something in their head, something in their body, something that they couldn't cope with. They didn't know how to cope with it at the time. And the military and the hospital systems had no idea what they were facing. So it was very difficult for them to come home and have no support and to reassemble into a civilian life. We took that time with real horror in some instances because they had no help that was available to them. Yet they came home, they tried to do their own civilian operation jobs. They tried to keep themselves going in a society that really didn't want them. It was a terrible situation. But these are true patriots. They stayed, they did their jobs, they went into civilian life. They tried to find their way. It was difficult, and we tried to make sure that the American people at some point would appreciate what they did. It took a lot of years for the American public to decide that the Vietnam veteran was actually the patriot that we all knew they were. It took time, it took a lot of discussion, it took a lot of understanding on both sides in order for us to come home, really come home, in a situation that was bad, in a situation that nobody wanted. But as time went on, we were accepted finally by the public of the United States, and we were able to reassemble and reassimilate to a normal life. It took a long time, but we're all glad that we went through that situation, and we were glad that we finally had an opportunity to tell our story to the people of our country. I think after so many years, they finally understand that you can't blame the warrior for the war. And the fact that people have finally said, thank you for your service. It is a great thing for any veteran to have that thing said to them. It is something that we will cherish for all of our lives. And we appreciate the American people for coming back and finally deciding that the Vietnam veteran was a real patriot and served their country with honor. And we thank you for that.
God bless you. DOMINICK, YEZZO.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm actually humbled to be part of this distinguished group. My name is DOMINICK YEZZO. I'm from New York City. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I was in Vietnam in 1968 and 1969, and I returned home and went to school on the GI Bill. And it took me through an educational process which I come to not only enjoy but adore the older I get. And so I was able to go to school and to go to college because of my service. And so my patriotism is a continued support and devotion to the United States of America. Now, I serve as General Counsel for the Vietnam Veterans of America, an important group with an enormous footprint in the United States. We have done more for veterans and their families, both legislatively and otherwise, by gaining benefits, advocacy, and hand-to-hand support and continued application of need for veterans and their families. I also, as General Counsel, I also serve as the committee chair for those who are incarcerated. My platform there is post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, two silent diseases, if you will, if you think of it as that, because you're unable to see it, but it's the wound of war is something that we carry inside our hearts, in our minds. Remember that we were all between 18 and 21, and we fought as a band of devoted brothers, veterans who recognized each other then and continue to now, and support each other then and continue to do that now. Post-traumatic stress is an issue with veterans from all wars. I think the Carthaginians who fought the Romans had to suffer with it, as well as the last war that we suffered in the United States, the Gulf War and then the Iraq and Iran wars. Same. All wars have the same wounds that we come home with. Traumatic brain injury is a discernible medical condition, which you can see on a scan. The frontal lobe of the brain is actually changed, and it results in an inability to reason properly. And so many veterans who return home, even though they may be, their mothers and fathers count their fingers and toes, and they look fine, and they're happy to have them home, but they're carrying a trouble that is only understood by other veterans, and it's a trouble that needs to be managed. The human condition is problematic as it is, but the war exasperates that. And we struggle to find joy, which we have, and the ability of Vietnam veterans, especially, to persevere over a country that didn't want us. We gained our own honor. We factored our own respect for each other. And now that has become, for me and for all of my brothers, a continued devotion and willingness to serve in the United States of America. And I'm happy to be here, and I am grateful to be amongst these men who have so willingly given so much of their lives to a great and continuing to be great nation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have our esteemed guest of honor, Rocky Blyer, do an introduction. You know, and I say that you know, for me, watching your life, it's just amazing to me. So I'll let you have the camera because I got a couple of questions for you after that.
Well, that's fine. As you've heard the story with everybody else that had served in Vietnam and how it impacted them and changed it. To some degree, we all went through that. I unfortunately came back to a high-profile industry trying to make the professional football team of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was there as a rookie when I got drafted out of that season into the armed services and ended up in Vietnam in 1969. Ultimately was wounded twice during that period of time, and then spent 9 months in the hospital thereafter. But coming out, so because of that high-profile industry, coming back and trying to make the Pittsburgh Steelers, I've had the opportunity to write a book about it, had a movie made on it, and so to some degree, it elevated my position as a Vietnam veteran. But I always had a feeling about my brothers that I fought with, that they didn't get that recognition that was assumed by everybody else, and fight their own battles, from serving the country, from repressing the feelings, from non-acceptance by the American people when they came back. There was some resilience for them to be able to survive, and ultimately they have when they came of age. So it's really now not to be forgotten, the impact of that conflict on the generation that is now coming of age, older, and the scars that they had to wear and go through becomes very important for future generations, and how we are perceived and how we are accepted. That will determine how we feel for us in the future. The whole impact of what we're trying to get accomplished is just that, of recognizing veterans for what they've done, for the impact that they've made, and for the service that they provided to our country. And not to take it in a general just, hey, thank you for your service, but a real understanding of what that means to generations that have been there before us, and then that will follow us in this continuous conflict that we have within our in our countries. So to be able to kind of bring those stories here, understanding for the American people of what in that generation of Vietnam veterans and how important it is to the success that we have as a country and how we view our veterans in the future.
You know, you and I have had some great conversations in the past about your experience in the military, and there are things about you that I'm going to say that I think are very important that speak to your character. One thing, when we talked about when you were drafted, there were people that were willing to help you get out of that in some way or some fashion. And you said, no, I'm just going to go. And what really impressed me was the fact that you were offered the opportunity to be an officer, to go through officer candidate school, and you chose to serve as an enlisted rifleman in the infantry. as a M79 grenade launcher guy, right?
That's right. Well, I mean, all that, all that stuff, those decisions that you make at that time and age, for me specifically, were based on what I wanted to do with the rest of my life thereafter. That obviously was to play football or get back into the NFL in some form or nature. Putting my time in the military, okay, that was happening during that period of time. I didn't get in the reserves, I didn't get in the National Guard, things fell through the cracks, whatever it might be. So ultimately I got my draft notification, so the questions were, hey, you could leave the country. People were doing that back then, if you remember that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Nowhere to start back here, right?
Right. So obviously the point was, okay, fine, you serve, Now, being an officer, we had a college education, you had some saying, why don't you become an officer? Well, I thought about that, but that was more commitment to being in the service. And let's be honest, at that time, it was like, okay, fine, I'll put my my time in, get my obligation out of the way, and be in the reserves thereafter, like everybody else. So so I opted to be. Now, I did not know that I was going to get orders to go to Vietnam right away, or end up as a M79 Grenadier over there, and so on and so. But it's like all of our stories. Who knew at that time where it was going to happen or where we were going to end up? And you just kind of go through that process. And so, so that experience was very, very important in my life. Now, even now, as I look back, the fact is that whether or not it was Vietnam, I did my responsibility to serve my country. I put time in. I was fortunate to be able to come back and play this game and be a part of a team that goes on and win 4 Super Bowls and be a part of that success. So, knock on wood.
They call it the ultimate comeback story.
I don't know if it's the ultimate comeback story.
But you weren't just scratched. You were really wounded.
Well, yeah. So I got shot through. Yeah. So I got shot through the left leg the first time that day, and I got hit with a grenade that blew up through my lower legs and my right foot. And so the prognosis was I'd never be able to come back to play the game because of the damage that was done to those parts of my bodies. But, I get, sometimes you think, okay, fine. No, we all grow up. And here, what did I tell people? We'll grow up. We grow up, we play in the backyard. We play pickup games, with our friends. And, and I don't think that any one of us growing up got out of there without some scrapes or something. Like, sprained ankle or, twisted knee or bumps and bruises all down, And there's kind of a lesson that you learn. And what is it? Oh, it hurts. It hurts. And then mom kisses it and then it gets a little better. You go see a doctor. And, 2-3 weeks or a month goes by. And then what? Then you're back out doing the same stuff again, And so that was that kind of a thought process that I had. So, okay. And I look and I go, all right, fine. You got injured. I didn't lose a leg, I didn't lose an arm, damage. Hey, we've been there before. Well, it heals and ultimately you go back out and play. And so that was kind of my thought. And so that got me through that period of time, no matter how long I was in the hospital or the operations you went through, okay, fine. And eventually you go back and you start working out again. And I was doing that towards the end of my stay in the hospital as I was an outpatient, and then when I got out of the service, training camp. And so the good Steelers invited me back to training camp, and especially the Rooney family, and so I went through training camp, and through the kindness of their heart, they let me stay in training camp. And Chuck Knoll ultimately cut me at the end, and rightly so. And he said, go back next year, go back and we'll invite you next year and get yourself healthy and so on. Dan Rooney, who was then a general manager running the organization, gave me a call. He said, I'm sorry that I wasn't there when Chuck, he said, I talked to him, we said, we're going to put you on injured reserve, have our doctors take a look at you and give you another operation, whatever is needed. And his whole thing is that, well, you served our country, so at least you should have an opportunity to and to take care of you. And so they bought me a year, and so then came back the following year, and I made the taxi squad or the developmental squad. So they bought me 2 years to heal and get the little bit swing, and so then you have to do something with an opportunity of that nature. And so I got a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and as I tell people, I come back to training camp. This is in 1972, and I'm the leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Thank you very much.
There you go.
But they keep me now. Okay, so they keep me on. I play on special teams. Never carried the ball the remaining part of that whole season, but hey, better than the year before. A year accredited. Came back the following year again. Training camp, leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Mm-hmm. Got to carry the ball once during that season, better than the year before. And then all of a sudden, you go through this process, and like all processes, and you go, okay, where's your future? I mean, you to make the team again, and this was coming into 1974, you make the team again. With every free agent, draft choice, and rookie once again to be able to make that team, and I just didn't think it was fair. I thought, well, maybe my life's going someplace else. Okay, and we all picked to that point in our life. I mean, I did come back and try to make the team a chance to play, maybe not to the level I thought, but hey, that wasn't part of the deal, and so I left the team. I left the team after 73, and I got enough credits for my minimum retirement, from the NFL during that period of time, and so I left, only to get a call from a teammate of mine. And this was I was living in Chicago, and I was selling life insurance. And he was coming in to visit, and he said, let's get together. Mm-hmm. I declined only because I wasn't going back, and I didn't feel a part of that team. And he pushed, and I declined. He pushed, and then he asked me why. I said, well, I quit. I'm not coming back. And he said, you can't quit. He said, if you quit, think about it. What you have already done is you've already made a decision for that coaching staff. You like them well enough to make the decision. Well, then he said, no. If this is what you want to do, you come back and you make them make a decision. You back them in the corner. You give. But you don't cut yourself. The reality of this game is that we're all expendable. The reality of this game is we all can be cut at any time, but if this is what you want, then you don't cut yourself. And maybe it was just the interesting, as I tell people, I needed from an older brother I didn't have, and I went back. Everything that I had perceived did take place. And I had to fight with every free agent, draft choice, and rookie once again to be able to make the team. Leading ground gainer during the exhibition season. Thank you very much. Now, the reason I tell you is that the reason that I was a leading ground gainer during the exhibition season wasn't because of the fact that I was bigger, better, faster than all the other running backs. It was the simple fact that I played more than anybody else during that period of time. I carried the ball more than anybody else during that period of time. Given those two simple statistics, I better be the leading ground gainer during that period of time, because all they were providing for me was what? Mm-hmm. An opportunity to be able to make the team. And they had to keep me. And I was the fifth running back out of four at the beginning of the season. Back playing special teams once again. Things happen. Frank O'Hara Harris got hurt in the first game. The backup became the starter. I became the backup. Wow, I'd never been there before, so it was renewed vigor that first game. Second game, third game, the backup got hurt. I'm inserted in the game and fullback. My running mate, right before the half, breaks one 51 yards down the sideline, scores, gives us a lead. We go into halftime, go over assignments, adjustments. So I'm thinking to myself, who's going to start the second half? The guys that got you the lead in the first half. So we get to start the second half, and as a team, we win that game. So we get to start the following week. And as a team, we win that game. And the week thereafter, it's a Monday night game, an extra day of healing. Franco Harris now becomes healthy. That's okay. At least I got to play, show, prove what I could do. And we had a pregame meal, and afterwards we get a breakout. All the running backs get together, and we go over assignments, adjustments, and our running back coach comes up to us and said, okay, fine, Franco, you and Rock will start tonight. Now you have to understand, momentarily I was quite confused. I didn't know how we both could play the same position at the same time. When it finally dawned on me that I was going to play the fullback position as I had been playing, I was going to play the other half, the other position. Nobody told me that. I wish they would have been better prepared going into the game, but we get to start the game. And as a team, we win that game. So we get to start the following week. And as a team, we win that game. And we start the remaining part of the seasons. And we win the division. And we get into the playoffs. And we win the playoffs. And we go to the Super Bowl for the first time. And we win the Super Bowl. And we play 6 more years together. Win 3 more Super Bowls. And in 1976, Franco and I became the second set of running backs in the history of the NFL, each to gain 1,000 yards rushing in the same season.
Yeah, I remember.
And after 12 years, I retired. So that is, that's kind of the process of being in the right place, right time, but not giving up, but having a focus of what you want to become and a belief and getting support along the way. And it's like everything else that we do, especially helping veterans today, that sometimes they lose sight of what they want to become. And it's our responsibility to be able to guide them and give them opportunities to be able to change their lives. And so that's why we're here.
You know, just to mention, being a Pittsburgher, growing up watching him, and now serving with him on the board, something that clearly must have resonated to anyone watching and surely to the group here is a character trait that also makes him a wonderful poster child for Vietnam veterans. And that you can't teach. It's humility. This man is a hero. He's a hero nationally. He's a hero in Pittsburgh. And as I said earlier when we were speaking, if anybody knows him, you'd never know it. Much like James, understated. And I think that that's part of the reason they're in the positions they are, and part of the reasons that they're able to be, as I say, poster children for this organization and for veterans at large. Because it's, I think it's the understated aspect of both of these gentlemen. And for the sake of those listening and veterans out there, not only have they accomplished, come back, etc., as has the judge, but I think that what should resonate as well is the type of that they are.
Yes, and I know this as well. I mean, people, one of the things that Rocky Blyer is to us is a symbol of our perseverance, our willingness to go forward, even in the confusion and even with the help that we had. It's remarkable in your history in the game for us veterans who came back and enjoyed sports again. You were a hero, and still today in a bar, because there's this Blyer bourbon. They say, "What's that?" And then Rocky Blyer. People in bars are talking about him because of his bourbon. Right? And there's a history and that team. He wasn't the only famous one. That whole team was famous, including the coach. That team was significantly American. It was significantly centered in America. And it was about winning. And they did it their way. was hard work.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, that comes up to the point of at no time did you ever lose your faith in your country.
No. Yeah.
Did you ever lose faith in your, has anybody here lost faith in their country?
My faith was deep in the war. You know, after I was wounded, all stories are similar, but the wounding is a surprise. I thought bad things happened to other people, and at 19, I was not vulnerable to anything, and it was kind of exciting to be in the war. Actually, my heart raced in a way that I'll never get. Almost like you miss it a little bit. I don't know how to explain that. It's a very odd kind of feeling, but it's a truth. And sometimes you feel your strength and you come together in a way that you don't know. And it's remarkable when you're 19 because you're entering the height of something, and it's odd but real. But you don't think you're going to get hit, and then you do, and I did. And the miracle was that I was medevac, and I say this story before, I'll say it again 100 times because it demonstrates what veterans are. I'm a soldier with the 1st Cav. I got hit, and the Marines picked up the call for the medevac, and the door gunner was 19. I was 19, and I had an opportunity to meet him many years later by a very, very, very lucky, holy encounter. And we're still together. We're still in conversation, that guy. And he remembers me. He remembers my name. And he remembers that he saved my life. I can't tell you the curses he says when I see him. He says, I saved your life every time. Anyway, it's that 19-year-old and the co-pilot on that old helicopter was 22 and the pilot was 24. They did that without direction. They did that. They picked that call up without anybody ordering them to do it. That's what the veterans are. We still serve each other like that. I'm here 100%. My devotion for America is my devotion to us as veterans. And it doesn't have anything to do.
It's an interesting thing. It was the same thing, kind of the same thing, which was that. So when I got hit, so now we're in a firefight, and we finally get to some protection, but now they got to carry me out because I can't walk. So they got to. So I got 4 guys that are carrying a corner of a blanket that they have me wrapped in, and they're dragging me out of it. So they get to a point where they say, we can't carry you anymore. Yeah, but we'll send somebody, people back for you, because we're tired and they've been out fighting and all. And then I'm lying there, and so I see these 2 black hands reach down, pick me up, hoist me over his shoulder, and carries me the rest of the way. On the shoulder.
You were 200 pounds then too.
Huh?
You were 200 pounds then.
That's sure. Well, at that time, maybe not 200 pounds at that time, maybe down to 106. No, 107 anyway. But the point was that he'd carry me, as a soldier, as a fellow soldier. He'd carry me, put me down, catch his breath, pick me back up,
On
and
his
he
own,
got me
on his own call.
on his own call.
That's
He
the
didn't have to
veteran.
do that.
That's what we are.
That's right.
That's what we are.
And that's the beauty of it. And so I'd like to focus on the patriotism piece and the mentoring piece. So as Tom and I have talked about this in the past, the value of what you all are talking about is mentoring. Mentoring doesn't just involve mentoring about the younger generation, about how to get a job, go to school, do these things. But mentoring is also about how to be a good American and how to be a contributor to your country. You don't have to serve in uniform or in combat to be a good American. You can be a good American by standing up for those things that have value. So Tom, as you look at this as the president of a massive organization that has a history that goes all the way back 50 years, what's your thoughts on the direction of VBA and how should we embrace this patriotism and this love and this compassion and take these stories and do something with it?
I think all veterans have patriotism. They have love of country. They have probably an understanding that a lot of people don't understand because they were veterans. I think that the way that VBA may go in the future, first of all, I don't think we're going anywhere. There's been rumors floating around out there that the Vietnam Veterans of America is going away. Not so. We'll be here as long as we need to be. And the people who are in our organization are certainly people who love their flag, who love their country, who love their neighbor. And that's proven, I think, by the fact that any time that you're walking on the street and you run into a veteran meets a veteran, it doesn't matter whether he knows the person or not. There's instantaneous camaraderie because you have been through a situation that most people have not. In today's military, only 1% of the country is currently serving. There's a lot of the 99 other people, 99% of the other people that have never served, have no way to understand the camaraderie that comes with service. And I think the people in our organization will be mentors for the younger veterans that are now struggling in the area of medical need or psychological need. Most of us, I call ourselves senior statesmen because we've been around for 50 years. And I think that the fact that we have been here this long and we have been successful and we have done any number of legislative victories. Our people are active. They're getting older, that's true. But we haven't forgot the youth that we had many, many years ago. We're still fighting, we're still looking, we're still trying to live better for all of the veterans in this country, regardless of where they served, how they served, and regardless of what branch. The Vietnam Veterans of America will help any veteran in any situation if they're needed. We are there for them. We are there for our brothers and our sisters. And I think it's well to note that there were 10,000 ladies that served in Vietnam. And without those angels of mercy, a lot of us wouldn't have come home.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic way to paint that, is that there is patriotism exists in everybody that wants it in this country. And you know, I've got 8 children and 2 of them served and went to combat and came back home, different men. One a little different than the other. But their brothers and their sisters that did not serve was there for them in every step of the way. And they love this country. They honor it. They stand up when they play the Pledge of Allegiance. You will not catch them desecrating the flag because they realize the significance of what that flag means. And I think when you talk about, you know, an organization that you don't hear a lot about, the National Flag Foundation, and then you talk about the ability of Vietnam Veterans of America and the National Flag Foundation to have this great monumental meeting today to talk about nothing else but America and how we truly demonstrate patriotism. We can talk about it, but to demonstrate it it requires us to work together, hand in hand. And I would love to just say to all of the listeners and the viewers out there that I want you to go and check out both of these websites. I want you to check out the National Flag Foundation website. I want you to check out Vietnam Veterans of America. And I want you to also take a look at this story about Rocky and how he came back. And the story that he just told you, it's not fiction. It's a real story of America. It's what made our country. It's that kind of attitude. When you look at what you all became, you know, when you look at what Tom Burke done in the logistics field, became a master logistician, came back after serving in the United States Navy, in helicopters, you know, in all sorts of situations. But to come back and to join in society and be a contributing member, to come back and become a judge, to come back and be an NFL player. And then when we talk to Romel, who, while he never served in uniform, is serving now in the most critical point in time for America's history, I believe is right now.
100%.
Is when we're going to come together as Americans. We're coming together now. The way we do that is through men like Romel and the thousands and thousands of other volunteer American citizens that are out there that are saying, God bless America, and mean it, and mean it. And he's raising patriots, and we're raising people to say grace to this country and not curse this country. Because you could have done that. We could have done that. We could have said, well, we got shot. We were miserable. Well, they made us do this stuff, you know. But instead, we come back and made something.
I'd like to showcase you a little bit, Captain. I mean, I think our audience needs to know that this man entered the military as an enlisted man. And through battle-tested faith, he retired as a captain. That's impossible to do. He's the recipient of a high award Silver Star, several Bronze Stars with combat distinction, Purple Heart, and all other battle-tested and battlefield awards. If he was wearing his medals now, he'd be leaning over. They'd be so heavy. He couldn't stand up straight. And he doesn't give himself enough credit for that. And his Silver Star is for a significant encounter with an enemy force that was exceedingly greater than him and his crew on a Humvee. The service to his brothers, the service to America, saved lives and risked his own life. He got wounded and continued in the fight. He doesn't get enough credit for this. And he has a book that you can read, which would give you this battlefield faith. So I would look that book up on James McCormick, and you'll see the story of what it's like to be in a war. Battle-tested faith. It's not only human and brave, but it's the finding of faith in the darkest moments when faith is the only thing that carries us forward.
I think you have to realize that every veteran, whether a lady, whether a man, every veteran has a story. Every veteran, like Rocky and James and Mr. YEZZO, these are people who have served their country and have done a great job in coming and serving their country after serving their country, because they didn't go and crawl into a hole. They didn't disappear. They came out after their service, and they're still serving their fellow veterans by the fact that they are involved with current veterans' causes, current veteran ideas, current veteran legislation that does in good for all veterans in this nation. Everything that is done on the Hill is not an easy thing to do. It's a difficult thing to get legislation through that Congress. But these guys bust their butts to make sure that every veteran in this country is a recipient of their work. And I think you can't ask for anything better.
God bless you. You know, this show has a little different vibe to it than the other shows. Usually, you know, we're cutting up and we're poking at each other, but you know, we have fun as Americans. But I think that when you look at what you can do, John F. Kennedy said it best, right? He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And I think that resonates today. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. You see the flag, as I was told by my good friend Ramel today, it doesn't fly just to the left or to the right. It flies for all Americans. And a flag that traveled around this world, flew over every U.S. military cemetery in the world. And that flag has touched the heart of so many people. Those that gave their last full measure of devotion that lay in those graves. I do believe when that flag was hoisted up, that it's the breath of their souls that undoubtedly touched that flag as it was waving in the breeze in each location. And to see that, and it flew over the USS Arizona. It's going to fly over in every state and every territory. It's significant. And you look at it and you say, well, it's just a flag. It's not just a flag. Everybody here would give all of their tomorrows to make sure that today that flag remains hoisted high over this country.
I have to say that I think if you want to know or realize what that flag means, you can visit Arlington National Cemetery. I am always amazed at any time that I walk through that cemetery and realize how many thousands and thousands of our fellow citizens gave their lives so that flag could live on. And that flag means everything to the families that are left behind to take care of their kids and their grandkids. It is amazing the people in this country that gave up their lives for the flag that flies over us. That is a symbol that is known around the world. And it will be such for every generation to come.
Well, folks, I want to say this as we get ready to close out this show. We went a little bit blank there, and that's okay. I know you can hear us, and I know you can see us. There is no greater country in the world. And I think at this point in time, we need to come together and we need to recognize that. We must recognize who we are as a country, what we represent as a nation, not just to ourselves, but to the rest of the free world who looks to us as an example. And people say, well, what are you? Do you lean to the left or you lean to the right? Just answer with, I'm an American. And I think that's the best answer that we can all give. And I'd like to say to our wonderful folks, Val and Greg that are out there, we're going to close the show out now. Because if I continue to talk, I'm probably going to shed some tears here.
Okay.
So mean.
Captain McCormick?
Yeah.
Yeah, your audio is really good. So if possible, I'd like to ask you, throw out a quick question to the gentleman before we sign off. This has been an absolutely amazing conversation. Amazing conversation. Moving, emotional. What I am hearing from all of you, what I'm hearing, it came to me, was grit, humility, and faith in God. This is what I'm hearing from all you gentlemen. And there's a hero here in the state of Arizona. And just want to share this real quick, because I'm, as Captain McCormick will attest, I am enamored by analyzing the generations. I'm very, very concerned about our younger generations, Gen Z, and the alphas coming up. But there's a gentleman here in Arizona who's a hero, and goodness gracious, it reminds me so much of a gentleman named Rocky Blyer. Pat Tillman. Pat Tillman left a career in the NFL after 9/11 to serve in Iraq. And Pat Tillman, unlike Rocky Blyer, praise God, didn't come back. But here's a young guy, and I guess this is also a question to Rocky, especially as it relates to these young people right now, younger people. Don't underestimate them. But you made a decision, Rocky, as did Pat Tillman. You had a great career in front of you. You got drafted, but you served. You chose to serve. And the rest is history. Rest is amazing history. As James alluded to, it's not just the hardship, it's the overcoming and what you become by the grace of God, everybody, by the grace of God. Go we. But with the younger generation now, looking at the Pat Tillmans of the world, looking at the Rocky Blyers of the world, and looking at so many of those gentlemen from World War II, there were endless guys, especially athletes, that served in World War II. Do you think this younger generation right now has the grit, the humility, and the belief in our flag enough to serve? It's an open-ended question, but I compliment you. I salute you, Rocky, and all you folks. You're heroes to us. Your selfless service, all of you in the room right now. But a question out to you, basically about the younger generation. I'll put it out to you, Captain, and I'd like to hear the other folks' feedback as far as what their take is. Are they bullish on youngsters? I guess is the biggest question. Go ahead.
Well, I'll kick it off with, I'll say that I had two sons that volunteered knowing full well that they were going to go to combat.
Right.
So I think that there is people out there that are willing to do it. And when they went in, they didn't really look at it as, well, I'm going to get money for school. I'm going in because of a bonus. I'm going in because of this. Though they got those things. What they went in for was what they felt was their duty. And I remember my dad had this conversation with me. And he said, when you serve this country, he says, you have earned your right to go anywhere you want to go and to be anything you want to be. And I'll never forget that, how that was told to me. And I told that to my kids. I said, but you don't have to go in order to be a good American. There are plenty of things that you can do. And out of those sons, 5 sons, 2 of them served, 3 daughters, none of them served. But they all demonstrate that same kind of patriotism and value. And they donate time and energy and everything to honoring this country. And I think that I think we have history like that. What do you guys think?
Well, I think I come from a family of all veterans. All my brothers served different branches. But I think in the history of the United States, when there is a national emergency, or there is somewhere in this world that they need help from a freedom-loving land. I believe that there are people, young people out there that will answer the call. We have had a history over 200 years where our citizens, our young citizens and older citizens have answered that call when necessary. You look at World War II, hundreds of thousands of people volunteered to stand for their country. It has been so in Korea, where I lost a brother. It has been so in Vietnam. It has been so in Iraq and Afghanistan. We have heroes in this country, and people who are willing to stand up and say, no, we're not going to let communism or whatever force overrun this world and make it worse than it was when we started. So I believe that we do have young people out there that always stand up and say, we will do this if necessary.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I teach freshmen and sophomores at a community college at the State University. I've done that for many, many, many years. And so when I look at 19 and 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, the joy of being near young people and exchanging ideas with them and teaching a skill is a privilege which never goes away, and I won't retire from that because it's probably the most important thing that I do. And I believe that this generation is the greatest generation ever in the history of humankind because they stand to achieve more than any generation prior to them. And I don't know what that achievement will be. I believe that called to duty and called to understand honor will answer by them. I think they're a little more confused than I'd like them to be. Rightfully so. The world that they're in is confusing. I think that all their images are different from all our images, but everything possible to be believed can be an image of the truth. And once they learn that, once they learn what those images are and they concretize them in themselves, the way most of us have to do, we've got to get through our 20s and into our 30s. I don't think we find ourselves to a 30, 35, something like that anyway. And I think we make our bones between 40 and 55 professionally. But I think this generation stands to achieve more because the technological advancement, the idea of their imagination is different from the fables of our imaginations. And what they have to achieve is capricious and right now arbitrary because there's so much change facing them. But as Americans, they'll answer the call, and I'm not frightened for what's becoming because I don't fully understand it. But I know something is becoming. It's not what I know, but it's something that will be as great, just in a different format than I've had the opportunity to understand. And so I wish I could live for another 100 years and figure that out, but I'm bound like all of us here.
Ramal, what do you think?
Well, the question was, are we bullish on our youth for the reasons asked? And I am, with two caveats. One, education, and echoing what the judge said, I think it's critical that our youth in America learn and be educated, which is part of what we try to do with the National Flag Foundation, to continue to remind people the history of our veterans and our country. The other item is leadership, and that's what the Vietnam veterans, people like James McCormick, offer, leadership, because I think that education goes hand in hand with leadership. That's what Vietnam veterans offers. That's what you're trying to offer. That's what your legacy is trying to offer. That's what people like Rocky and James and the judge you have tried to do to establish leadership. So I think with leadership, and as long as there's continuing emphasis on education, I believe that I can safely say, at least from my standpoint, I'm bullish on the youth of America being able to step up if needed. Rocky,
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
mean,
give it to
I
you.
feel the same way about you. I think that as far as our future is concerned, depends on what happens. You know, I think if you look back over a period of time of all conflicts, the American youth have stepped up to fulfill their responsibility during that period of time, whether it be Korea, World War II, you know, Vietnam, and so on. They've made this decision. Now, I think, and it'll never happen, that everyone should serve their country. That it's not, you're 18 years old or coming out of college, you have to serve. Now that can't happen. It just can't happen. But I think that in service, you learn a lot about you. You learn about working together. You learn about discipline. You learn about being ups and downs, being yelled at, and going through, basic training, whatever it might be. And so there's that camaraderie that majority of young people today don't get. And so, but I also think that on the other hand is that military today can be, how can I say, more advantageous to young people.
Yes.
If you making that decision from an education point of view, one possibly, if you want to become an officer, we want to go to the academy or just going through basic training or going in and listening and so I always say this, and I think this, that you're a college graduate or not even that, or if you're and you enlist and you put your time in and you get 4 years in or 5 years in and you go through the process and you get the advancement along the way, whether it be an officer or from a private first class sergeant. You have added responsibility of leadership and so on, so that when you decide to get out of the service, whether it be 4 years or 5 years, that industry today are looking for leaders. Industry today are looking for people who know how to work and want to work and have a different perspective. And I truly, truly believe that being and going into the military gives you that foundation that makes you more valuable than other people of the same age or range. And so that's what I got out of serving and how important it is to a future younger generation as they're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, folks, it's been a great show. It's been humbling. It's been a humbling experience. Greg, you want to take us out?
And thank all the gentlemen in the room there. As a side note, I would love to get every single one of you one-on-one around a campfire someday and hear your stories. You never know. Stay tuned for that. I'm thrilled. As a final note, I mean, there's so much I can say. There's so much to cover, especially with your guys' bio and your selfless service to this country. But I am reassured about the feedback you have about the generations and the younger generation. I agree that with education, with proper education, and I think we're going to get more and more of that. God love them, the folks like the Charlie Kirks of the world. His mission was to educate the younger generation. And I feel that in this room. And as a matter of fact, and what I'll do, I'll just do a quick wrap here, and then I'm going to turn the mic to Val OLSON. She's the most underrated person in the history of mankind. She has facilitated this broadcast behind the scenes, and she has facilitated literally hundreds of broadcasts, gentlemen, these last 3 years to make it possible for us to bring shows like this to the Veteran Channel. Whether James is one of those shy guys, as you probably know, and he to let you know, the Veteran Channel is really James McCormick's lifelong dream. It's a fulfillment of his lifelong dream, which was to platform, get this, our U.S. veterans issues, reach the younger generation. For veterans, for us, always mean U.S. military, law enforcement, first responders, and our border guys. These are all heroes to us, and you gentlemen are all heroes to us. But the Veteran Channel is it literally is just a wonderful platform. We go out live as we're doing right now. It's replatformed on multi networks and platforms. I will be having Val do a quick summary and take us out here. But to you gentlemen, I just want to thank you, deeply thank you, for not only coming on this program today, but also I encourage you to support Captain James McCormick. The Veteran Channel is a standalone dream of his, and it's very much a going concern. All of the episodes previous to this are all rebroadcast on my YouTube channel. I'll let James, share contact info and stuff on that. But gentlemen, we've talked past, we've talked present, and we're talking future right now. And what I'm thrilled to see is that indeed you and I are self-ascribed senior statesmen. We are the mentors. We are the mentors, and we must choose, as every one of you do, choose to deliver that mentorship.
He's the national president of Vietnam.
We okay there on there's a little echo. I'm not going to belabor. Thank you so much. I have further questions to you. I look forward to staying in touch with all of you. If you don't know, my name is Greg Meakin. And our facilitator is Val OLSON. I'm going to, Captain, if it's okay, as usual, I'm going to turn the mic to Val. She's going to do a quick summary, and we'll do a little music extra and stuff. But thank you, gentlemen. Salutes to all of you guys, okay? Salutes to all of you guys. And hopefully I'll see you around a campfire someday. Go ahead, Val.
Well, thanks so much, everyone. So today's episode was a real treat, and we had very special guests. Thank you to Captain James, who led the way today. We welcomed Rocky Bleier, Tom Burke, VVA President Dominick YEZZO, New York Judge, Vietnam vet, and attorney Rommel Nicholas. And we went through so many issues that affect all of the age groups. And what really spoke to me loudest was on mentorship and how we have to incorporate this next generation coming in, and that there's roles for all of us to play in serving our country. And if you have not visited this website, please do so. The Flag History and Evolution. The Flag Foundation is what we touched on today with patriotism. And it's so, so important that we really understand what we have in this country. When I say that, what we have is we have freedom that is not enjoyed in the same way it is here around other parts of the world. We touched on communism and the significance that plays around the world. And what we have here, we can lose at any time if we do not band together. So our generation has to find our place. And one gentleman spoke, I don't know who it was today that said it, but he talked about we're not going to be here for another 100 years. But I would say to you, sir, your words will be. And it's broadcast like this that are timeless, and it will be the echo that my generation, that pushes them forward into our calling and whatever that is to serve this great country. So I want to thank each of you from the bottom of my heart, and those that are watching at home, please visit the National Flag Foundation website. I'm sharing it here, but there's a event coming up that's on July the 4th. So don't forget, there's so much happening that we could touch on, but visit the website, and don't forget to check out the nationalflagfoundation.org today. Thank you. And Greg, I'm going to pass the microphone back to you.
Yes, indeed. In addition, thank you so much, Tom Burke, VVA.org, VietnamVeteransOfAmerica.org. You guys are great. I so appreciate your commitment, your ongoing commitment to our veterans. And once again, especially to our younger generations, I hope there is a time when we're so concerned about veteran suicides on this channel. And I hope that there is a time when we can take these guys and gals from the port of entry or whatever and walk them straight through the first 2 years or so of their quote retirement. And I know you're committed to that type of thing, but that's our request on our end, is that, again, the overall mentorship, including helping these guys through that first couple of years. Thank you so much, Val Olson. I'll be letting you take it out here with the music, but the rule we follow here on Continue Mission Radio and all of my radio is this: wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in first grade. God bless you, gentlemen. Val, take it out.
This is another edition of Continue Mission on the Veteran Channel. Your redeployment starts now. We are actively recruiting, and thanks so much. Thanks to the Veteran Channel. You can follow us on Apple, Roku, and Prime. On behalf of everyone today, have a wonderful rest of your evening. Good night.
Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meakin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around. I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause baby,